What's going on? It's your boy KM Lucci, and we here with another installment. You know what I'm saying? Another video. I got my boy Zay Gator with me right here. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be coming in with some YouTube reactions as well. Coming with his channel as well. We got a duo channel, a collabo channel coming as well. We both some family men. We both like going out on the Oregon coast. We both like going out to the valley. We both like going out to eat. We like watching sports, and we like smoking on some good herb. You feel me? So it's only right, you know. But yeah, today we're gonna be reacting to my boy King Von, not him specifically, but his lineage, man. We're going to his origins, his dad, his father, the spanker. You know what I'm saying? Supposedly, his name's Silk. Supposedly, he used to put BTA before BTA was a thing. Before GTA, he used to put BTA. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see what it do, man. We twisting up some good right here. You know what I'm saying? I got some good herb I'm working on right now, putting in the wood. You know what I'm saying? He got his bobsled wax. You know what I'm saying? And we over here about to, smoke up and just and tune in, stay tuned in and tapped in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Show your boys some love. Please show your boys some love because it's for free.
We appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
July 31st, 2005, a sniper's bullet ended the life of one of Chicago's most respected black disciples OGs, Walter Silk Bennett. But this wasn't just another street casualty, fam. This was King Von's father, the man who shaped a legend before Von ever dropped a bar. When that rifle took Silk out at just 30 years old, it created a monster. An 11-year-old Davon Bennett watched his hero get buried, and from that moment, King Von was born. No cap. Silk wasn't just some random gang member, homie. This cat was old school black disciples royalty.
Hold on, y'all. My bad. That shit ass. I actually opened up my damn McAfee security
It
shit.
ended the life of one of Chicago's most respected black disciples OGs, Walter Silk Bennett. But this wasn't just another street casualty, fam. This was King Von's father, the man who shaped a legend before Von ever dropped a bar. When that rifle took Silk out at just 30 years old, it created a monster. An 11-year-old Davon Bennett watched his hero get buried, and from that moment, King Von was born. No cap. Silk wasn't just some random gang member, homie. This cat was old school black disciples royalty from Ada Park, the type of OG who commanded respect without saying a word. But here's the crazy part. Von barely knew his pops. Silk was in and out of prison Von's whole childhood, only meeting his son when the kid
That nigga dad was a factor, nigga. That nigga dad was putting in work, nigga.
was 8 years old. Yet
Shouldn't have had kids type shit, you know what I'm saying?
somehow this absent father became Von's biggest influence. The same streets that made Silk a legend also kept him away from his family. And when that sniper took him out, it set Von on a path that would end the exact same way 50
Yeah, bro, active as fuck. You gotta have a sniper take you out, nigga. And your section, you had a sniper take you out. Boy, you was shooting shit.
Nobody else could do it.
You was shooting shit, bro. You was shooting shit.
15 years later. To understand how King Von became the demon he was, we gotta go back to where it all started, with Silk from Ada Park.
And to be honest, bro, before we get into it, bro, this demon shit, man. Hey, man, believe in God, bro. Put your trust in God, bro. All these niggas want to be demons and shit, man. Look, I'm gonna just remind you, man. Demons burn for the rest of eternity, nigga. So you know what I'm saying? Get your mind right, pimping. It ain't really cool. Ain't really that cool.
Let's rewind to October 28th, 1974, gang. Walter E. Bennett came into this world during one of Chicago's most violent eras. But yo, this birth wasn't normal. His parents were so deep in the streets, they couldn't even have him in a regular hospital. They was worried about ops pulling up, so Silk got delivered by a midwife on actual silk sheets. That's how he got his name, for real. Growing up in Ada Park on Chicago's South Side, Silk was surrounded by the
Shouldn't even have kids. You too active to even go to the hospital and have a regular birth, bro.
That's how you know you active.
They was born outside, bro. Well, he wasn't born outside, but they was born in the field. God damn it, that's man. Hell yeah, you different breed.
black disciples from day one. This wasn't just any neighborhood.
Niggas be like, nigga, that's not normal, nigga. That shit ain't normal.
Ada Park was BD territory since the 1960s, back when David Barksdale was running things. The park itself was located in the Morgan Park area, and it was where young cats learned the game from OGs who had been putting.
Look, I was born, bro. When I was born, nigga, I was born in the parking lot. My dad was late picking my mom up from the apartment complex we stayed at. to take her to the hospital while she was in labor, right? So my dad's speeding on the freeway from Long Beach to Anaheim, and nigga, he got in a high speed chase. Nigga, the police broke down. He kept going, went to the right. But look, gets into the parking lot. He gets out the car. He, boom, pointing at my mom's side of the, the passenger side, like, get her, get her, get her. Right. So they go to the side, open the door. As soon as they open the door, my mom told me she flung her legs up and said, get him out in my head. She's already crowning and shit, right? That's epic. But for you to not be fucking born in a hospital because both your mama and your daddy is worried that they gonna get the niggas gonna get the word where they at and the op gonna pull it, so they don't even try to go to the hospital. They get a midwife and deliver you on silk sheets, nigga. It's crazy, ain't it?
That's a hell of a nickname, Silk.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, and that's what, bruh. That's more astonishing than anything I ever heard of, P. And I thought my life story was, you feel me, nigga? What? That shit crazy.
In work since the civil rights era. Silk's pops was a laid-back gangster who only spoke when necessary, but his mama, Shorty, was a live wire who would whoop your ass if you talked stupid. She was independent and respected throughout the hood.
It's like his pops.
When you got that type of mama, you learn early that respect ain't given, it's earned. And Silk's mama had earned hers through being real and never backing down from nobody. The family had money from the jump because both parents
Staying late again?
Yep, got prospect calls to summarize. You really need to switch to Monday.
were hustling hard. They wasn't struggling like a lot of families in the hood. Silk grew up seeing what it looked like when you got your paper right, when you commanded respect, when people knew not to play with you. That foundation shaped everything about how he would move later in life. When Silk's parents split up, his stepdad, Big Reggie, stepped in. Another street legend who was pulling in millions. Big Reggie wasn't just rich.
Niggas was hood rich.
Aliens.
Hood rich. Niggas ain't leaving the jacks. Not leaving no neighborhood. They ain't staying right where they been at. Rich than a bitch, popping Remy, nigga. In the parking lot, popping Remy, nigga. Hood rich, nigga.
He was smart about his money. He taught young Silk the difference between getting money and keeping money, between being feared and being respected. These lessons would serve Silk well when he started building his own empire. But here's the wild part. Silk almost never made it to the streets at all. Homie was nice with the basketball, playing at Ada Park courts every day. We talking about a dude who could handle the rock, had court vision, and could shoot from anywhere on the court. People who knew him back then said he was good enough for the NBA, no cap. Think about that for a second. If Silk had made it to the league, he would have taken his whole family out the hood.
Chicago known for having hoopers. D Wade, D Rose, Michael Jordan. No. Chicago known for having hoopers though.
Vaughn would have grown up as some spoiled rich kid.
LA, Chicago, New York.
New York, yeah.
In the suburbs, never would have seen O-Block, never would have become the demon we knew. The whole drill
In Texas, but they more football than basketball. But Texas got hoopers too.
scene might have been different, but instead of shooting hoops, Silk chose to shoot ops. He joined the Black Disciples and started hustling hard in these streets. By the late 80s and early 90s, Silk was already making moves that got him noticed by the higher-ups in the Black Disciples. This was during the era when Chicago gangs were more organized, more structured. You couldn't just claim a set, you had to prove yourself, show that you was about that life, demonstrate that you could handle responsibility. Silk started at the bottom like everybody else, but he had something different about him. While other young cats were reckless, getting into unnecessary beef and drawing heat, Silk moved calculated. He understood that the goal wasn't just to survive in the streets, it was to thrive, to build something that could last. His first major test came when he was tasked with handling some business for the BDs. The details of what exactly went down ain't fully documented, but word on the street is that Silk handled it with the type of precision that made the OGs take notice. He wasn't just muscle, he was smart muscle, the type of dude who could think 3 moves ahead. But with that recognition came consequences. The more successful you become in the streets, the bigger target you become. Silk's rise didn't go unnoticed by rival gangs or by law enforcement. His first major charge came in the early 90s, and it was serious enough to land him 9 years in Menard Correctional Facility. Now, Menard wasn't just any prison. This was one of the most dangerous facilities in Illinois. We talking about a place where gang politics from the streets continued behind bars, where you had to stay alert 24/7 just to survive. A lot of cats would have folded under that pressure, started snitching to get their time reduced, or switched sides to protect themselves. Not Silk. This dude kept his mouth shut the entire bid, never gave up a single name, never cooperated with authorities, never showed any weakness. He did his time like a true soldier, earning respect not just from his own people, but from inmates across all gang affiliations. That type of loyalty and strength don't go unnoticed in the joint. While Silk was locked up, the streets kept changing. New players emerged, old beefs escalated, and the game became more violent and less organized. But Silk used his time wisely. He studied, he networked, he planned for what he was going to do when he got out. Prison became his graduate school for street politics. When he finally got released, the Black Disciples rewarded his loyalty in a major way. They gave him his own tower to run on Robert Taylor Homes on State Street. That's like being...
Nigga, these niggas was living like New Jack City, bro.
Tower and shit.
Whole fucking unit, not unit, a whole fucking apartment complex, nigga. A whole strip of apartment complex in the projects, bro. Niggas was living like New Jack City, nigga.
Handed the keys to a money printing machine. The Robert Taylor Homes were a complex of high-rise public housing buildings that had become central to Chicago's drug trade. The BDs didn't just give this position to anybody. They knew Silk had the street smarts, the respect, and the discipline to handle that level of responsibility. Running a tower meant managing everything from drug distribution to security, from settling disputes to collecting money. It required someone who could command respect without constantly resorting to violence. According to the streets, this is when Silk really started getting that bread. Word on the block was that Homie became a millionaire before he turned 25. But Silk
Just want to live hood rich.
wasn't flashy with it. He moved smart, kept a small circle of trusted homies, and stayed ready for whatever. The money was flowing.
I ain't gonna cap though. I see some shit about King Von. They said that nigga was moving. He moved different. Like that nigga moved like a militant. You know what I'm saying? Like he was. I see where he got it from. Nigga, daddy was a millionaire. Everybody talk about Lil Durk's dad was a millionaire, and you know everybody the spotlight on Lil Durk's dad. But nigga, I sound like Silk was that nigga though. Sound like they was just repeating what both their dads did. Really.
But he understood that in the streets, today's ally could be tomorrow's enemy. If you was rolling with Silk, you had to accept that shootouts came with the territory. Just like his son would be years later, not everybody
Nigga Von was tired. Nigga Von was fucking tired, nigga.
could hang with Silk because you had to be on that same timing. He wasn't looking for fair weather friends or people who would disappear when things got hot. His circle was small but solid. The money was flowing, but Silk had expensive tastes. Dude was always copping the newest whips, Cadillacs, BMWs, Mercedes, bringing them back to the hood and turning the whole block up. When Silk pulled up, it was an event. Kids would run up to see the car, older cats would nod with respect, and the ladies would take notice. He was like a neighborhood superstar, but he never forgot where he came from. Silk would pull up to Ada Park in his new ride, hop out in fresh gear, and still kick it with the same dudes he grew up with. That type of loyalty to your roots is what separated the real ones from the fake ones. And just like Von would be later, Silk was a ladies' man. Rumor has it he carried a key ring with keys to multiple women's cribs. They trusted him enough to
Nigga was shooting the street up, then shooting the club up. Nigga, goddamn, he shoot the club up, then shoot the club up, nigga. Goddamn.
give him access whenever he
All the ski. All the ski.
wanted to slide through. These wasn't just random shorties either. We talking about women who had their own money, their own respect in the community. This lifestyle led to Silk having 7 kids with different baby mamas, including...
Damn, nigga, god damn.
Sound like me.
Kids was
Shit.
god damn, man.
Sound like me.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah. Yeah.
Davon with Tasha Chambers. But here's where the story gets complicated. Silk and Tasha's relationship didn't last. They separated when Vaughn was still young, and Silk's constant legal troubles meant he was in and out of prison throughout Vaughn's childhood. Now let me break down how Silk and Tasha really connected, because this part of the story shaped everything that came after. Tasha Chambers, born in 1976, was a young shorty
We're gonna keep it respectful, but
trying to make it in Chicago when she met Walter. She wasn't some random chick from the block. Tasha had her own thing going, her own independence, her own respect in the community. The exact details of how they met ain't fully documented, but based on the timeline and what we know about both of them, this had to be around 1993 or early 1994. Silk was in his prime, pulling in
93, the year of the greats. You feel me? I just gotta say.
serious money from his operations, commanding respect throughout the South Side, and living that high life that came with being a successful street entrepreneur. Tasha was attracted to Silk's confidence and success, but she also saw something deeper in him. Despite his reputation in the streets, Silk had a different side when he was with her. He could be gentle, thoughtful, even vulnerable in ways that he never showed to his crew or his enemies. Their relationship was intense from the jump. When you're dealing with someone who lives the type of life Silk was living, everything happens fast. The highs are higher, the passion is more intense, but the risks are also greater. Tisha knew what she was getting into when she got involved with Silk, but love don't always listen to logic. By the time Vaughn was born on August 9, 1994, Silk was already deep in his criminal activities. The same streets that made him rich and respected also made him a target. He couldn't be a regular father because he was constantly watching his back, constantly alert to danger. Every time he left the house, there was a chance he might not come back. Tisha found herself in an impossible situation. She loved Silk, but she also had to think about their son's safety and future. The constant stress of not knowing if your man is going to make it home alive, the fear of retaliation from his enemies, the knowledge that law enforcement was always watching. It was too much for any relationship to
Hey, that's no cap, bro. That right there, no cap, nigga. Nigga. I used to be Wild Wild West, bro. Sierra, she's not playing none of that shit with me, bro. I could go outside and all that there, bro, but there's some rules and guidelines to this shit, nigga. I can't have the same friends I used to have, because the friends I used to have, man, we would be on bullshit, boy. A lot of growth in this shit, man. That shit right there. I don't know why I just thought of that shit right now, man. I just thought of that shit though. I'm like, damn, that's yeah.
handle. The breakup wasn't dramatic or messy. It was practical. Taisha realized that she needed to create a stable environment for Vaughn, and that wasn't possible while she was with Silk. So she made the difficult decision to raise Vaughn on her own, moving to Parkway Gardens, what would later become known as O Block. This decision probably saved Vaughn's life in the short term, but it also created the absence that would define his entire childhood. Taisha was now a single mother grinding to provide for her son while his
And crazy, he barely knew his dad like that. And he just like the nigga. The crazy, huh?
father was either locked up or handling business in the streets that she was trying to escape. The irony is that by trying to protect Vaughn from his father's lifestyle, Taisha ended up raising him in an environment that was just as dangerous. Parkway Gardens was becoming ground zero for the gang wars that would define Chicago in the 2000s and 2010s. The same violence she was trying to shield Vaughn from was right outside their door. Silk, for his part, wasn't a deadbeat father. He provided financially when he could, and he genuinely loved his son. But his lifestyle made consistent parenting impossible. He would disappear for months at a time. Sometimes because he was locked up, sometimes because he was laying low from enemies, sometimes because he was handling business in other cities. The first time Vaughn actually met his pops was when he was 8 years old, around 2002. Can you imagine that? Your whole life you hearing stories about this legendary figure who's your father, but you ain't never seen him.
You have it listened, you type it in, and then you go digging.
Your mama tells you
I ain't gonna lie, he probably liked that shit though. Like even if he didn't meet his dad yet and shit, he probably looked at his dad like a superhero. Especially if he coming outside every time he go outside or go somewhere, niggas he don't know or his uncles or whatever. Damn, he look just like your dad, boy, man. That boy look Vaughn look just like he look just like I nigga like man, I nigga like that shit, bro. I used to love that shit, bro. Niggas tell me I look like my dad every time I went outside and shit. Nigga, I used to love that shit. It got annoying after a while, but that was like as I got like older in my life, you feel me? Started trying to build my own name type shit, but nigga, when I was a kid, when I was little as fuck, I used to try to match my dad, nigga, like our clothes he wearing and all that shit, bro. I used to love that shit. Real facts.
stories, other people in the hood mention his name with respect, but to you, he's like a ghost. When they finally connected, it was like meeting a myth come to life. Silk was everything Vaughn had imagined and more. Tall, confident, commanding respect wherever he went.
If they seen that nigga, it was like, oh, dad. You know what I'm saying? Dad. You get that nigga
Even
big.
though their time together was limited, Silk made sure to pass down the street code that had kept him alive. He taught Vaughn about loyalty, how you never betray the people who are really with you no matter what. He explained the importance of respect, how you earn it, how you maintain it, and why it's more valuable than money. He showed Vaughn how to carry himself, how to read people, how to spot danger before it spotted you. But Silk also tried to warn Vaughn about the costs of street life. He would tell his son about friends who had died, about opportunities he had missed, about the constant stress of always having to watch your back. He wanted Vaughn to learn from his mistakes, to maybe find a different path. Vaughn absorbed every word, every lesson, every moment they spent together. But just as quickly as Silk would appear in Vaughn's life, he'd disappear again. Back to prison, back to the streets, back to the dangerous life that eventually consumed him. By 2005, Silk was still moving heavy in these streets, but the game was changing. The organized structure of the 90s was giving way to more chaotic, more violent conflicts. Younger cats were coming up who didn't respect the old codes, who were willing to break rules that had kept the peace for decades. Silk had survived over a decade of gang wars, multiple prison bids, and countless attempts on his life. He had built a reputation that extended far beyond Ada Park, earning respect from BDs across the entire South Side. But success in the streets also means accumulating enemies, and by 2005, Silk had plenty of both. The skating rink on 87th Street where Silk would meet his end wasn't just a place for kids to have fun, it was a known meeting spot for street business. This was neutral territory where different crews could conduct business without the territorial tensions that existed in their home neighborhoods. On July 31st, 2005, Silk was allegedly there handling some type of deal when everything went wrong. The streets say he was set up by someone he trusted, led into a trap that had been carefully planned. This wasn't some spontaneous
Backdoor.
beef that got out of hand. This was a calculated assassination. What happened next changed Vaughn's life forever. A sniper, positioned at a distance, took the shot that would end Walter Silk Bennett's reign in Ada Park. The use of a sniper rifle showed that whoever wanted Silk dead couldn't get close to him. His reputation and the way he moved made it impossible to just walk up on him, so they had to take him out from a distance. The bullet struck him in the head, but here's the part that makes it even more tragic. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors fought to save his life for 2 days. Vaughn's family held on.
He got locked up too much. That's niggas. That's the young niggas trying to take shit over. He got locked up too much. Niggas started running shit while he's locked up. I'm gonna do this shit myself, nigga. What the fuck we using this nigga for? Nigga drew the plan up, take him out, bro. I guarantee the next nigga that was head up in charge, the nigga that did that shit.
To hope, praying that the OG would pull through like he had survived everything else. For 48 hours, the Bennett family lived in limbo. Taisha brought Vaughn to the hospital where he saw his father fighting for his life, hooked up to machines, surrounded by the beeping of monitors and the antiseptic smell of the ICU. This was Vaughn's last image of his hero, not the confident, powerful figure who commanded.
I'm just speaking off opinion too. This is my disclaimer. I'm just speaking off opinion, bro. We not no law experts. We not no novice of the law. We don't, you know what I'm saying? They go to law school. Nigga, this is all just opinions. This is all just opinions, not facts. You feel me? But that's my opinion.
Demanded respect in the streets, but a man reduced to tubes and wires. On July 31st, 2005, during surgery, Walter Silk Bennett took his last breath. The man who had survived the most violent streets in America, who had built an empire from nothing, who had commanded respect from the most dangerous people in Chicago, was gone. And his 11-year-old son was left to process not just the loss of his father, but the violent way he died. The investigation into Silk's murder revealed just how calculated this hit was. Chicago PD knew they was dealing with something different from the usual gang violence that plagued the city. This wasn't some random street beef that got out of hand. This was a professional assassination that required planning, resources, and inside information. The use of a sniper rifle immediately told investigators that this was personal. In Chicago's gang culture, most hits happen up close. Drive-bys, ambushes outside gas stations, confrontations in alleys. But a sniper attack, that's some military-level planning, the type of hit you use when your target is too dangerous to approach directly. According to street sources, the shooter was allegedly a dude known as Killer Wall from a gang called Terror Dome. But like most street justice in Chicago, no official charges were ever filed. The case went cold faster than a Chicago winter, leaving Vaughn and his family with questions that would never be answered. The lack of witness
I'm like, nigga, I'd be on some fuck everybody shit, bro. If you're not riding for me and my family, bro, fuck you, bro.
Witnesses wasn't
Trust nobody no more.
surprising. The skating rink might have been neutral
Your health deserves more than guesswork. At Prenuvo, our whole body MRI scans for hundreds.
Them ads.
territory, but that didn't mean people were willing to talk to police about what they saw. In Chicago's street culture, snitching is the ultimate violation, even when it comes to solving murders. The code of silence that Silk had lived by also protected his killers, but the streets talk, even when people don't talk to police. Word got around about who was responsible, about why Silk was targeted, about the chain of events that led to his death. Some said it was about money, a deal gone bad, a debt that couldn't be collected any other way. Others claimed it was about territory, about Silk's influence threatening someone else's operation. The most persistent rumor was that Silk had been backdoored, betrayed by someone in his own circle. This theory made sense given how the hit went down. The shooter knew exactly where Silk would be, exactly when he would
What I say?
be there, and exactly how to position themselves for the shot. That type of inside information only comes from people close to the target. Von's uncle confirmed in an interview years later that his big brother was indeed killed by a sniper rifle, adding credibility to the street version of events. But he also hinted at the betrayal aspect, suggesting that Silk's trust in the wrong person had cost him his life. The immediate aftermath of Silk's death sent shockwaves through Ada Park and the broader BD community. This wasn't just the loss of another gang member. This was the assassination of an OG who had represented the old school way of doing things. Silk had been a bridge between the structured gang culture of the 80s and 90s and the more chaotic era that was coming. His funeral was a testament to the respect he had earned. Despite the danger of being seen publicly mourning a known gang leader, hundreds of people showed up to pay their respects. The service was a who's who of Chicago's street elite, with representatives from BD sets across the South Side coming to honor Silk's memory. For 11-year-old Davin Bennett, watching his father's casket being lowered into the ground was a defining moment. This was the man he had barely known but desperately wanted to emulate. The stories he had heard about Silk's power, his respect, his success, all of it ended with this wooden box in the dirt. Von's mother, Tisha, tried her best to help her son process the grief, but she was dealing with her own complex emotions. Despite their separation, she had never stopped caring about Silk. He was the father of her child, her first love, and now he was gone in the most violent way possible. The trauma of losing his father to gun violence at such a young age created a wound in Von that would never fully heal. But instead of making him want to avoid the streets, it had the opposite effect. Von became obsessed with understanding his father's world, with proving that he was worthy of the Bennett name. Tasha tried to keep Von focused on school, on staying out of trouble, on building a different kind of life. But she was fighting against forces bigger than herself. The same Parkway Gardens project.
There's really much you can do when you're moving from one jet to another jet, you know? One project building to another project building, there ain't really much you could do. You know what I'm saying? Sources limited as fuck, bro.
Where she was raising Von were becoming ground zero for the gang wars that would define Chicago in the 2000s. Without his father's guidance, even the limited guidance Silk had provided, Von turned to the streets for the male role models he desperately needed. The black disciples in O Block took Von under their wing, seeing Silk's son as someone who carried that legendary bloodline. They told him stories about his father's exploits, about how Silk had commanded respect, about how he had built an empire from nothing. These stories became Von's blueprint for how to move in the streets, but they also created unrealistic expectations about what street life could provide. The OGs who had known Silk tried to guide Von, but they were also products of the same system that had consumed his father. Their advice was well-intentioned, but ultimately led Von down the same path that had destroyed Silk. They taught him the
And they both died young as fuck.
code, the loyalty,
I think Von died younger than his dad, but still, these niggas died young as fuck. I don't even think his dad touched 40.
willingness to die for respect, the same qualities that had made Silk legendary and gotten him killed. By the time Von was 13, he was already showing signs of following his father's path. He was getting into fights at school, running with older kids from the block, displaying the same fearless attitude that had made Silk respected and feared. Teachers and counselors tried to intervene, but Von was already too deep in his own head about living up to his father's reputation. The juvenile arrest started when Von was 14. Small stuff at first, but escalating quickly. Each time he got locked up, each time he proved he wouldn't snitch or cooperate with authorities, his reputation grew. He was becoming known as Silk's son, the young cat who had that same energy, that same refusal to back down. But here's the tragic irony. The same code that made Silk legendary also contained the seeds of his destruction. The loyalty, the violence, the refusal to back down, the willingness to die for respect. These weren't just admirable qualities in street culture, they were also death sentences in Chicago's increasingly violent gang wars. Von inherited all of these traits, along with the trauma of watching his father die violently. By 16, he was facing serious charges himself: armed robbery, attempted murder, the type of cases that could have sent him away.
You can't be like he was trying to be like his dad. Like, nah, he just his life just led to lead a life just like his pops. They grew up in the same city, and everybody respected his dad. So they probably was thinking, you know what I'm saying? It's like with a baby or something or a kid. You like constantly say, "Oh, that's a bad kid. That's a bad kid." You know what I'm saying? Or you bad. You bad. Like eventually they're gonna, oh, okay, I'm bad. I'm gonna do bad shit. You know what I mean? Like nigga, I probably would he just let life, nigga. He didn't even really know his dad like that. They're saying, so if he didn't really know his dad like that, then I doubt he was trying to copy him more so than just keep like a the same like reputation like his dad, trying to build the same reputation like you know, my dad when I was a kid, my dad, he never lost a fight. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I've lost fights, but when I was a kid, I was like, nigga, I would be just like my dad. You feel me, nigga? If I catch phase, I'm gonna win every time. Nigga, like, you know, so yeah, it's just different. Shit is different.
For decades.
I don't think he was trying to copy his dad. I think he just led a life like his dad's. I think he did a lot of shit that his dad would have did in them situations.
The cycle that had consumed Silk was already consuming his son. The streets that had taken Silk were now calling Von with the same seductive promise of respect, money, and power. And just like his father, Von answered that call with everything he had. He joined the same black disciples that had made Silk a legend. He adopted the same code of loyalty and violence. He even earned his own nickname, Grandson, as a tribute to BD founder David Barksdale, connecting him to the same legacy his father had represented. Silk's death didn't just create King Von. It created a monster that would terrorize Chicago's streets.
Nigga said, that's that nigga, that's the third generation, nigga. He said, you grandson.
For the next 15 years. Von carried
Rank, what?
his father's absence like a weight on his shoulders, constantly trying to
That's a nigga like when you be at home and shit, like it's that nigga on the block, like don't touch that nigga, don't fuck with that little nigga.
Oh, straight up.
The niggas, they love that little nigga, don't fuck with that little nigga.
fill a void that could never be filled. Every song he dropped, every move he made in the streets, every time he put his life on the line, it was all connected to that 11-year-old boy who watched his hero get buried. The parallels between father and son are scary when you really break them down. Both were black disciples who commanded respect through a combination of intelligence and violence. Both were in and out of prison throughout their lives, never able to fully escape the system that had shaped them. Both had multiple children with different women, repeating the cycle of absent fathers that plagued their community. Both lived by a code that valued loyalty over everything else. Loyalty to their gang, loyalty to their crew, loyalty
Creators, take these 3 apps I built to run my business made with Base 44. They're ready for
to the streets that had made them, and both died violently before they could see their full potential realized, before they could break the cycle that had consumed their families for generations. Von would reference his father constantly in his music, using Silk's memory as motivation to provide for his family in ways his father never could. Songs like Exposing Me dealt directly with the trauma of losing his father to gun violence, with Von rapping about the pain of growing up without that male guidance, about the anger he felt toward the streets that had taken Silk away. But Von also understood that those same streets had made his father a legend. In his music, he celebrated Silk's reputation, his success, his ability to command respect in one of America's most dangerous cities. Von saw his father as a king who had been taken down by jealous enemies, and he was determined to reclaim that throne. The problem was that Von was trying to live up to a myth. The stories he had heard about Silk were filtered through the lens of street legend, where every victory was magnified and every mistake was minimized. Von didn't just want to be successful, he wanted to be Silk, to embody everything his father had represented. This obsession with living up to his father's reputation drove Von to take risks that even Silk might have avoided. While Silk had been calculated in his moves, Vaughn was more impulsive, more willing to engage in public beefs, more likely to put himself in dangerous situations for the sake of maintaining his image. The old heads who had known Silk watched Vaughn's career with
That nigga was Tyrant. That nigga was Ghost Son Tyrant.
mixed emotions. They saw the same charisma, the same leadership qualities, the same magnetic personality that had made Silk special. Vaughn had inherited his father's ability to inspire loyalty, to make people want to follow him, to command respect through presence rather than just violence. But they also saw the same reckless energy, the same willingness to risk everything for respect, the same inability to walk away from beef even when it made strategic sense. Vaughn was Silk's son, but he was also a product of a more violent, more chaotic era of Chicago street culture. When Vaughn started making real money from his music career, he did exactly what his father would have done. He broke off his crew, made sure everybody ate, and stayed loyal to the same people who had been with him from the beginning. That generosity and loyalty were direct results of Silk's influence, passed down through the stories Vaughn had heard about how his father had taken care of his people. Vaughn's first major rap check was reportedly 6 figures, and instead of keeping it all for himself, he split it with his crew from O-Block. This wasn't just generosity, it was Vaughn following the blueprint that Silk had established, understanding that real power comes from having people who are genuinely loyal to you, not just people who are around because of what you can do.
Y'all didn't see that boy eye? What the fuck? What the picture fuck it up? Look at that. Yeah, the picture.
Vaughn following the blueprint that Silk had established, understanding that real power comes from having people who are genuinely loyal to you, not just people who are around because of what you can do for them. But Vaughn also inherited his father's enemies. The same gang wars that had been raging since Silk's era were still active, still claiming lives, still demanding blood for blood. Vaughn found himself caught up in beefs that started before he was even born, carrying on conflicts that his father's generation had passed down like a toxic inheritance. The BD versus GD war that had shaped Silk's life became the backdrop for Vaughn's entire career. Every song was a declaration of war. Every video was a challenge to his enemies. Every public appearance was a risk. Vaughn was living his father's life in fast forward, compressed into a few short years of fame before the streets caught up with him. The drill music scene that Vaughn helped create was, in many ways, a direct result of the trauma that Silk's generation had passed down. These young cats were rapping about the same violence, the same loyalty, the same codes that had governed their fathers' lives. But they were doing it in public, on social media, in ways that made them even bigger targets. Vaughn's music videos were like psychological warfare, designed to intimidate enemies and inspire allies, but they also served as evidence for prosecutors, as target practice for rivals, as recruitment tools for the same lifestyle that had killed his father. Vaughn was
We all know that's the story of Chicago, though. You know, they all active out there.
simultaneously celebrating and perpetuating the cycle that had destroyed his family. The success of Vaughn's music career gave him opportunities that Silk never had. He could have used his platform to escape the streets, to build legitimate businesses, to create generational wealth for his family. And to some extent, he was trying to do exactly that. Vaughn was investing in real estate, starting businesses, planning for a future beyond the block, but he could never fully leave the streets behind. The same loyalty that made him split his first check with his crew also made him unwilling to abandon the people and places that had shaped him. Vaughn felt obligated to represent for O-Block, to carry on his father's legacy, to prove that the Bennett name still meant something in Chicago's streets. This internal conflict between his desire to escape and his loyalty to the streets created a tension that defined Vaughn's entire career. He was simultaneously trying to build a legitimate future and maintain his street credibility, to provide for his family and represent for his fallen friends, to honor his father's memory and avoid his father's fate. The tragedy is that Vaughn was actually succeeding in many ways. His music was connecting with millions of fans who related to his story of trauma, loyalty, and survival. He was building a brand that extended far beyond Chicago, creating opportunities for himself and his crew that previous generations of street cats could never have imagined. But success in the music industry also brought new dangers. Vaughn's fame made him a bigger target. His wealth made him worth robbing.
All right, she done came out here, bruh. Oh, shit. Gotta look it out, bro. Everybody say hi to Sentai. Say hi. Go ahead, go back there with mom. Nope. Yeah. There you go. You put it right there. Right.
His platform made his enemies more motivated to take him down. The same success that was supposed to be his escape route became another reason for people to want him dead. On November 6, 2020, outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta, King Von's story ended the same way his father's had, with gunshots and a hospital bed. The cycle that had started with Silk's death in 2005 was complete. Another Bennett man had lived by the gun and died by the gun, leaving behind children who would grow up with the same absence that had shaped their father. The immediate
That picture keep fucking me up, man.
aftermath of Von's death mirrored his father's in many ways. The streets mourned the loss of another legend, another young man whose potential had been cut short by violence. But there was also a sense of inevitability, a recognition that Von had been living on borrowed time, that his lifestyle made this outcome almost certain. Von's funeral, like his father's, was attended by hundreds of people who had been touched by his life and music. But it was also a reminder of how little had changed in the 15 years since Silk's death. The same violence, the same codes, the same cycles were still consuming young men in Chicago, still turning potential into tragedy. The legacy that Silk had passed down to Von was now being passed down to another generation. Von's children would grow up with the same absence that had shaped their father, the same stories about a legendary figure they barely knew, the same pressure to live up to a reputation that had ultimately proven fatal. Today, Silk's legacy lives on through Von's music.
What's crazy though is that like his kids gonna see all his videos and shit, growing up. He didn't get no videos from his dad and shit. He was just getting stories from his uncles or niggas that fucked with his dad.
And the stories that old heads still
What worse? They about to be way worse.
tell about the Ada Park OG, who commanded respect without saying a word. His influence shaped not just his son, but an entire generation of Chicago street culture. The discipline, the loyalty, the structure that Silk represented became the foundation that Von built his own legend on. But that legacy is also a warning about the cost of street life. 2 generations of Bennett men, both talented, both respected, both gone too soon. The same qualities that made them legends, the fearlessness, the loyalty, the refusal to back down, also made them targets in a culture that ultimately consumes its own heroes. The streets that made Silk and Von legends also took them away from the people who needed them most. Their children, their families, their communities were left to deal with the aftermath of their choices, to try to break cycles that seemed impossible to escape. In the end, Walter Silk Bennett
First step to doing that is move the fuck out of wherever the fuck you at.
story is about more than just one man's rise and fall in Chicago's gang culture. It's about how trauma gets passed down through generations, how absence shapes presence, how the streets create legends and then consume them. It's about the price of respect in a culture where respect is often measured in blood. Silk never got to see his son become King Von, never got to witness the success that his own sacrifices had made possible. But his influence was there in every bar Von rapped, every move he made, every decision that defined his short but impactful life. The Ada Park OG, who was delivered on silk sheets and died by a sniper's bullet, created a legacy that outlived him by 15 years. But in the end, that legacy couldn't save his son from the same fate. The streets took Silk in 2005, they took Von in 2020, and somewhere in Chicago right now, another young man is probably hearing these stories and thinking he can be the one to break the cycle. But the streets don't care about your plans, your potential, or your promises. They only care about the code, and the code always collects.
How many kids Von have?
I think 3.
About 3?
I think so.
Shit, man. Somebody finna hit.
Its debt, no matter how long it takes. That's the real legacy of Silk.
When I say hit or strike it, I'm talking about one of them 3 kids is gonna have that mental on business to get their family to fuck and really change that shit up. It is possible, man.
From Ada Park.
Yeah.
Not just the legend he became, but the price his family paid for that legend. And that price is still being paid today in the children who grow up without fathers, in the mothers who bury their sons, in the communities that lose their brightest stars to the same violence that created them. The story of Walter Silk Bennett and his son King Von is ultimately a story about America itself, about how poverty, racism, and systemic neglect create conditions where young men see the streets as their only path to respect and success. It's about how cycles of violence perpetuate themselves across generations, how trauma becomes inheritance, how legends become curses. Until we address the root causes that create these conditions, until we provide real alternatives to street life, until we break the cycles that turn potential into tragedy, the story of Silk and Vaughn will continue to repeat itself in cities across America. The streets will keep calling, young men will keep answering, and families will keep paying the ultimate price for a respect that costs everything and lasts only until the next bullet finds its target.
Experience Japan on a journey customized to you. Explore future.
Fuck them ass. Yeah, that was a good one right there. You know what I'm saying? Damn, Vaughn, his dad was an active ass nigga
Straight up.
with the business, standing on business, and had a business, making money, profit, hustle man Keats type shit. You feel me? Man, that was a good one. But we wrapping it up. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for tapping in.
You know what I'm saying? And tuning in. It's your boy KM Lucci. Pulled up with my boy Zay today. You know what I'm saying? And I got a couple more videos I'm gonna do later on in the day. Right now I gotta get back to some schoolwork and shit though. But yeah, man. You know, stay tuned in and tapped in with your boy. What's it called? More live shit coming. We got the vlogs coming too. Don't forget, I told you already. We got the vlogs coming soon. So stay stay dedicated like I am, stay committed like I am, and you're gonna see this page growing and just reach newer heights, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and just like that, we done.
Tap in.